Hello and welcome to IndieLoupe. I'm a little late on this one, as Piece by Piece actually came out a few weeks ago now, the same time as I opted to review Rhell, Warped Worlds and Troubled Times. In that video I mentioned that, for that particular week, I struggled to pick which game to look at, as there were a lot of different titles competing for my attention, and among them was Piece by Piece, and, Piece by Piece. Two games with the same name released 48 hours apart. And while I won't deny that that coincidence brought about my initial interest in those games, it would be dismissive to say that that's the only thing worth noting about them. So here's our slightly late and slightly shorter than usual review about one of those Piece by Pieces. In Piece by Piece, you play as Oku, a fox who's taken over their grandfather's repair shop. At the start of the game, you're greeted by him at the train station, which you'll never see again, whisked off to the shop, and will immediately notice that said shop is in need of a few repairs itself. It's certainly seen better days, but presumably in your grandfather's advancing years, he's begun to have a few problems preventing it from getting run down. Your first task will be to repair the shop's sign, which serves as the tutorial for the primary gameplay loop, getting belongings from customers, or in this instance, Grandpa, and heading to your repair bench to put them back together. You're presented with a transparent hologram of a broken object, along with a single piece of it, and will need to attach the other parts, usually around 8 to 12 of them, until it's fixed. You do that by rotating the object and the pieces until you've lined them up on the hologram and then snapping them into place. Nothing more arduous than that, no carefully applying glue or hammering in nails. It's also relatively forgiving in terms of accuracy. You do have to get it into the right place, but not with pinpoint precision, and there's a nice little soft zoom that helps you know when you're on the right track. This mechanic is effectively the entire point of Piece by Piece, and what makes or breaks it. If you don't think it'll be fun to spend a few hours doing that, albeit with some extra steps later on in the game, it's probably not going to be for you. Those extra steps come in the form of cleaning and painting objects once you've unlocked the appropriate tools. Dirty objects will need a once-over with a sponge, and some items are brought in needing a fresh coat of paint. There are a few other things to occupy yourself with outside of the item repairs, which you will slowly unlock through your playthrough. Nothing major, but extra little tasks to complete. Growing berries, which you can make paint out of to save you having to buy it straight from the merchant. Chopping wood to keep your fireplace blazing and your customers happy. Baking cookies on that fire to keep them even happier. The game tries to pack in a lot over its relatively short playthrough. The whole thing took around 3.5 hours, which I don't think is necessarily a bad thing, as had it been much longer, then it would have started to overstay its welcome. Might sound like there's quite a lot to do in Piece by Piece, and there sort of is. There's a further minigame that I didn't mention if you, for some reason, really want to play rock, paper, scissors, and you can decorate the shop in a variety of ways. There's a couple of tables you can put items up for sale on. There are a lot of different aspects to engage with, but unfortunately none of them have a huge amount of depth. Everything feels like the most basic version of itself that it can be. You start seeing the same items pop up for the repairing, the cleaning and paint systems are pretty rudimentary, and almost everything else is either buying things from the merchant or moving things from A to B. For a game that takes, being leisurely, about 3.5 hours, there was a lot of waiting. Waiting for customers to come in because you didn't have anything else to do, or waiting for your berries to grow so that you can get some paint. The whole process is pretty relaxing, the setting is very cute, but also quite lonely. Outside of the very brief intro sequence, the game is confined to 2 scenes, inside the shop and just outside of it, both of which often feel a bit empty. I couldn't make myself care about the other characters when I felt isolated and confined to that small area. It's not like there's a town you can pop into to see how things are, you just exist in this space that people sporadically enter to throw a broken item at you or come and collect their fixed item. The game ends with a celebration of camaraderie and everything that you've done to help the town, but to me it didn't really feel like I'd done much. Just fix random bits here and there for a community I wasn't really a part of. I don't want you to go away thinking I didn't enjoy my time in Piece by Piece, I did, but I wish that the game's ideas had been developed that little bit further. Its biggest boons are its aesthetic and how cathartic the repair mechanic is, and those combined are ultimately endearing enough that, for the short time it asks of you, it is an enjoyable experience. Piece by Piece is awarded a 7 out of 10 by IndieLoupe. But hold on, are you sure this is the piece by piece you wanted to hear about? I mean, it's a very easy mistake to make, so if you somehow made that mistake and actually wanted to know about the other one, you can click the link in the description, or the pop-up in the top right, to go to a review of the other piece by piece. I figured it was only fair that I looked at both. Thanks for watching, and I will see you next time.